Hey, welcome back to the Jmach Podcast, where our mission is to make veterans great again through community involvement. And I'm your host, Jmach. Thank you for tuning in. Together, we can conquer our mental health one step at a time. I want to thank our sponsors, TRC, Total Roofing and Construction, and Arizona Organics, Arizona's first legal dispensary. Please like and subscribe, and remember that your mental health matters. You're not alone. And enjoy the episode. Welcome back to the Jmach Podcast. Today I have your favorite realtor, Ryan Gamlin.
Let's go.
Welcome to the show, brother.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Yeah, no worries. It was a gamble saying your name right, so hopefully I did it right.
Yeah, you did it right.
Douche.
It's not Gremlin or Gamlin. We're good. We got it.
Right. Come on, it was a before show talk we had. So let's just jump right into it. My favorite line, Ryan. What was your childhood like?
Dude, I thought about that on the way over here because I anticipated you were probably going to ask that question. I had a great childhood, like all things considered. I had everything I needed. I had a house to live in. I had supportive parents for the most part. I had food. From my eyes, we didn't look like we really struggled. So I was like your regular kid from the Midwest. Grew up in Minnesota, Chaska, Minnesota, and would go out down to the woods and play and hang out with friends and have a really good time doing that. Really big into soccer, and so I played that
pretty consistently throughout my childhood. Big gamer, too. I've taken a little bit of that into my adult life at times.
Which I see why my son is also a gamer, because I enjoy playing video games. So I would say overall I had a really good childhood. I don't know, what else about my childhood?
I just have a question. How come you don't have that Canadian accent?
Oh, yeah. So the Minnesota accent?
Yeah.
So you get me around my Minnesota people, and all of a sudden they'll start coming out.
Minnesota, eh?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
On.
Like, I'll tell you, I get around my boys, and I start accentuating my O's, and I start getting out there a little bit. I start saying oofta left and right.
Yeah.
Yeah. It happens. Absolutely.
So you lost it when you came to Arizona?
Yeah. I think I transitioned out of it because I didn't have as many people who talked the same, and I feel like I kind of wanted to assimilate to kind of fit in a little more. Because people would always be like, "Oh, you're from Minnesota, eh?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I'm
probably
from
exactly how I would have done it too."
Yeah, I'm from Minnesota. I can't get away from bag though.
No.
Like people say bag, and apparently I say bag.
Oh, that's
just how it goes.
That's one of my speech impediments for sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
I used to say bagel.
Yeah, like, I say bagel.
Yeah, dude,
I don't say bagel. I say bagel.
I got made fun of hardcore in high school for saying it that way.
It's the complete opposite. I don't know why the switch is. I think I felt subconscious about my, or what is it? Self-conscious about my my AGs. Yeah.
Okay. So you were self-aware trying to change the way you spoke, or did it just one day you woke up and you weren't Canadian anymore?
I don't know. I guess I never really thought about it that way. I don't think I ever actively really made the choice. I think it just happened over time as I continued to communicate with people out here in Arizona. Because I moved out here at 19, and so I recognize when all my friends are back home, they really gained a strong Minnesota accent when they stayed there past their adult life, because they're just talking to all the people. Like my buddy is like near redneck, and his voice is. It's hilarious.
So is there like a high population of Canadians in Minnesota, or like how did that accent come to? Do you know?
I don't know. I think the more north that you go, the more that accent starts to come out. And definitely the more country that you are, that starts to come out. And I lived in a city, it was a great city. I biked around left and right to my neighbors' houses. I had that great childhood where I could grow up and I could go bike riding around the city and not have to worry about anything. My parents didn't worry about it, except for the fact that I would go to the community center, not tell them, because we didn't have cell phones at that time, and then they'd come and show up at like 7:30 at night and be like, "Listen, asshole, it's time for you to get home." I'm like, "Oh, okay. Can we swear?"
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, sounds good.
Yeah, growing up, I look back, bro, I lived in the country, and I would like go explore the creek for the day.
Yeah.
I would ride my bike down the roads, do anything, and no cell phones, as you said. And then like, as long as you were home at a decent hour or a decent time, or you listened, like parents didn't care. Now I'm like, dude, I have a grocery store in my community, and it's probably like a 10-minute walk at most. And I don't know at what age I'll feel comfortable letting my kids go up there,
I just don't think
like a different time now.
Yeah, I don't think I'd be okay with that, with my son doing that, because it is a completely different time, and I recognize that living here compared to Minnesota. It's like it is really so much different. And at the same time, I wonder, is it really that much different? Because, are the same things that we're getting exposed to, which is like more child kidnappings and the weirdness on the streets. Like, was that all apparent when we were kids? And our parents weren't necessarily as concerned about it because they didn't have so much access to the technology.
Right, and it wasn't, so don't get me wrong, that happens everywhere. Country, city, doesn't matter. It's happening whether you realize it or not. But I think especially back in the Midwest, right, like we're always hearing the stories from other states or like the bad town in our state.
Yeah.
Not like the suburb or the country or where we're generally living most of the time, right?
Yeah.
And also, like I was telling Corey earlier, knowledge is power, but knowledge sucks sometimes because, for example, people grew up in the ocean. Now they know what's in the ocean and all the other things. They don't want to go back in there because the more you know, the more you have a chance of freaking yourself out about it. And as a kid, you were too busy riding your bike. You didn't care about what the news was saying. And now as an adult and as a parent, you're listening to it.
Yeah, you just weren't aware. Like it wasn't out there. And I think that's the gift that kids get at a young age, is that they don't have to worry about all the things that we as adults have to worry about or be concerned about, because they're just living life. They're full of love and they're looking to have some fun. That's what they want in life, and that's what they deserve. They shouldn't have to worry about the stresses and the fears and the concerns that we as adults deal with on a day-to-day basis and looking to keep a family moving.
Right. Do you think that's when you change from a child to a teenager to an adult? Is like not necessarily the age has a role in it, but it's when you become more aware about life and like somebody passes away or something bad happens to you, you mature and you age quicker. You come into like I don't want to say an adult because I'm 34, barely thinking I'm an adult now,
You like to act as a kid, like inside you feel like you're still a kid.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But do you think at that time, like that's when somebody absolutely matures, is like when they become aware of what life really is?
Yeah, I would say once shit happens in their life where they need to start maturing and showing up for themselves.
Right.
Absolutely.
When do you think that was for you in your childhood?
Dude, my dad was a police officer for 26 years.
Same.
So he worked a lot, right? And I think he is my my shadow in my life. The shadow figure is what they call it. Where I did everything I can to not be like my dad, even though my dad was a great person, right? Like I know deep down he really wanted great things, yet he was gone more often for work and let's say going up to the camper than he was necessarily at home. And when he was at home, he was less present. And so I felt like I had to start showing up more and taking care of myself in that area, because he was also an alcoholic.
Okay.
So he would be home and immediately he would start putting down beers. Like my dad could put a 24-pack down in a day, Bud Light. And he could wake up the next day and be totally good. Yeah, we saw that as kids, me and my sister. So she's 4 years older than me. So we saw that as kids. And, my mom did everything she could to work with it. My dad was never abusive. He was never a bad person. Yet he just, I would say maybe he was a little bit verbally abusive. Yet at the same time, he was always trying to escape something with his career or his beliefs or his feelings about where the finances were in the family. And I didn't learn this until later on in life. Yet I feel like at a young age, probably around like 10, 12 years old, I had to start recognizing like, okay, there's going to be times where I have to take care of myself. And I think my parents started leaving me home more often because my mom had to work and my dad was gone. And so I had to take care of feeding myself and really mature in that way, because he was a role model in my life for different reasons, and I had to complement the ways that he did not show up in my life at a young age. And so me and my sister always tell ourselves to this day, like we felt like we had to grow up quicker than we got a chance to.
Okay.
Yep.
Do you feel like well, I didn't want to ask this till later, but it's the one that's coming to my mind right now. But do you feel like you had to deal with abandonment issues from your father, even though he was there, but just due to the fact that he worked so much?
I don't think it was. Well, I don't know. Is the fear of not being enough and abandonment issues linked together, do you feel?
Yeah, probably. I would say so, because if you don't feel like you're enough, then because dad's always leaving, you're not enough, so he's not wanting to be there.
Yeah. I just did some work on this last week. We were talking beforehand a little bit about it, and I have this just core memory in my life where I was probably 7, 8 years old, and my dad was just drunk in the kitchen, and he was just not being nice, and me and my sister are sitting there, and we asked him to stop drinking. Like, we're like, Dad, just please quit drinking. And he looked at us, and he was dang near crying, and he was like, you asking me to quit drinking is like telling me to stop breathing. And I was like, in that moment, I believe that I created the idea that my voice isn't powerful enough to make any change, and that what I was as a person wasn't enough for him to take any action in his own personal life.
And you just became aware of this a couple days ago from this trip, or have you always known that?
So I've started doing like my really in-depth growth journey probably about 3.5 years ago, after the separation with my ex, and it was at that point where I recognized that I had a lot of downfalls, I had a lot of faults that I really needed to look at, what was holding me back in life and how can I be a better person moving forward. And so I think I discovered the idea of, or the limiting belief of not being enough at that time. Yet this last week, that image, that memory was really prominent in my brain when I was working on releasing those terrible feelings and those emotions to go along with it.
What were some tools that you were able to use this past weekend to let that go?
Screaming.
Okay.
Yeah.
So does screaming actually works for you?
Yeah, like screaming and voicing the things that you have deep down that you want to release, right? Because they're very prominent on, in order to allow more into your life, more love, more light, more acceptance and happiness, you have to release all the baggage and all the negative emotions that you have deep down too. So we had an exercise where we got a chance to just yell at the top of our lungs, in a very beautiful setting, and say exactly what we needed to say, reaffirm who we are as people, ask for forgiveness, which I think is extremely important in life. Forgive yourself, forgive the people in your life, as difficult as it is. You're never going to move forward in life if you choose to hold on to that resentment or that regret or that anger towards an individual in your life. So forgiveness is a big one. And then just, reaffirm who you are as a person, who I am as a person.
It sounds very needed and very helpful.
It was big, man. It was good. Tears came out. I cried like a little baby. I had my buddy there with me, as we have during that whole week. And I got to experience other people going through this too. And everyone felt really great afterwards. Like, everyone went through the same process. They released all of it.
Do you feel like you can remember a lot of your childhood, or is it like blacked out and you only remember certain things?
Yeah, I think there's certainly a good, as we get older, I think our memories start to fade a little more. Those really big core memories, they continue to stand strong within my mind. The work that I've done, I've had an opportunity to kind of dig deeper and figure out where do some of those memories of challenges or limiting beliefs or negative emotions hold true. And then it's funny, as we get older and adults, would you agree that we focus on more negatives than we do positives in life?
Yeah.
Yeah, and so you hold on to more negative emotions in life than you do positives, and those kind of stand out, especially as you look at experiences with people that you love in your life.
Right. They say that it takes up to 10 good things to replace one bad thing that you've done.
Yeah.
To replace that memory. I feel like a lot of my memories are more negative, right?
Okay.
But it's got to be 3 weeks to a month now that I started to, like, just at night and in the morning, to tell myself I love myself, I'm proud of myself, I'm successful, I'm worthy, I can't wait to wake up tomorrow, and I'm happy.
I love it.
And, like, bro, it still kind of feels fake.
Sure.
The first 2 weeks, I started to notice a difference, and I'm like, I would not relate the two, that it's because I'm actually saying these affirmations. I would just be like, all right, well, I'm just waiting for the next downfall, what's going to happen, because I'm still forcing myself to say this stuff that feels fake.
Yeah.
Then at week 3 comes in, and I'm like, okay, why? I start to question things, why? And I look back, and I realize, all right, well, ever since I started to say I'm proud of myself, I love myself, can't wait to wake up, and I'm happy, I started to feel that way. And I started to focus less on the negative, because I don't want to I'll say it's almost like an addiction. You're addicted to what you know, and what I knew was always negative and how to be negative and how to be miserable. But that's not how I want it to be anymore. So I had to actively change. And it is a lot of work to force yourself to do something you're not used to. So you're getting yourself out of your comfort zone, and then you're rewiring and reworking your brain and your language and everything. It takes a whole nother discipline that I never expected. With when you have little self-belief, saying those positive things to you, it just feels fake. But like I made a post the other day, and you just got to fake it till you make it, because eventually you're going to start feeling that way, and you're going to be glad that you started. So it's either day one or one day, your choice.
You should check out what I took this last weekend, because they said exactly that. Fake it till you make it. And you talk about discipline. Life is all about discipline, because motivation can happen. And they even said for 2 weeks, motivation is there, right? And then all of a sudden that motivation dissipates. You can't hold on to that exact feeling for forever. You have to turn that into a discipline and create the consistency in your life and turn yourself into the person that you want. You get to choose. I think a lot of people miss out on that, is they get to choose. They don't have to be victim to the life that they had in the past.
I think that's a great point. And I, for the longest time, while saying I wasn't the victim, stayed true to the victim mindset and like, well, this is happening, then I'll be able to do things right. Mm-hmm. And I always left it out to outside factors. But in reality, if anything's going to change, it's going to start with me, it's going to end with me. So I need to make these new habits, these new adjustments, and stop waiting for other people to make their changes when I'm not even making a change myself.
It's exactly that. When you talk about, what you don't want to be, your brain immediately creates what you are. So you got to start speaking into what you want to be and who you are, instead of I don't want to be this, I don't want to do this. So if I say don't think of a purple elephant, what are you going to do?
The purple elephant's already in my
brain.
Right,
exactly, it's in there. So like immediately and that's why we talk to we look at our kids and we say don't do this. All of a sudden they're like, oh, I'm going to do this, or don't believe in this. They're going to start thinking, oh, I have to believe in this. Not have to, but it just happens. It's just that's how the human brain works.
Yeah, because you're telling them what not to do. They're only hearing what not to do, so it becomes the only thing that they know, or we know.
Yep.
So, yeah, and that goes true with like talking to yourself, right? When I started to tell myself I love myself, I'm proud of myself, etc. After I was done saying my mantra for the day, there'd be times that still to this day, thoughts creep in. They're like, oh, I'm not good enough. I should stop the podcast. I should stop this. I don't do that. You're fat. You're boring. You're blah, 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 right?
Mm-hmm. Right.
I've learned to like not feed into that. Like, okay, I had that thought, and then I'm like, all right, no. And then I'll counter it with like, I'm smart, I'm confident, I'm helping. I've helped one person, and I'm helping myself. That's the most important thing that's happening here.
Yep.
So keep going. And so you actively have to force yourself to stop thinking in that negative pattern that life comes at you.
Yeah, you got to break the chain.
Because it's so true. Manifesting, and then like if you are just waiting for something bad to happen, the next bad thing's going to happen to you, because that's all you're looking on. And 20 good things could have happened, and you won't even notice it because you're just focusing on that one bad thing that you were telling yourself is going to come true. Fucking came true. Why? Because that's all you focused on. You put all your energy to making that true while trying not to.
You know why? Because you have evidence of this happening in the past in your life.
Right.
Childhood, right? It is like 85%, I think, of your beliefs are created between the time you're born and 8 years old.
Okay. I genuinely believe that like our responses to what happens in life, our reactions, our triggers and all that is all due to our childhood.
Yep.
And I read a quote the other day that like when you're arguing with your spouse, you got to remember you're not arguing with a grown woman, you're arguing with a broken inner child.
Oh.
And I was like, oh, shit. And I mean, that could go for, like, if you and I started arguing right now.
Yeah.
I got to remember I'm not arguing with my favorite realtor. Yeah. I'm arguing with, like, the broken kid making his own sandwich for today, you know?
Yeah, it's your own shit, you know?
Yeah.
Like, I'm not going to sit there and take your energy and be like, that's my issue, you know? Because it's, at the end of the day, it's projecting your own insecurities and concerns.
Right.
Yeah.
But a lot of it, what I need to do is, I'm already doing it. I just need to continue to grow on it. Is a lot of people call it shadow work or self work.
Yeah.
Like looking inwards, right? And before I don't like conflict, bro. But like if you want to bring it, I'm ready. Like let's go. I'll take the kill shot. Like I don't need to play your games. I'm gonna win right away.
You gotta defend yourself in life, right?
Yeah, but that's only hurt. I am recognizing that mentality has only hurt me, right? Like still I don't want to be confrontational, but like I don't need to bring it to the next level either. Just because you're insecure, you're hurt, I upset you, I'm sorry I upset you, whatever you're mad about, like I don't need to displace my comfort or my mental health for you being upset. I need to just stay calm, and I need to not throw fuel on the fire.
Yeah.
And that's when it's hard, especially on those days where you're tired.
Yeah.
And somebody else is starting to get a little wild up on you, and then you're like, it's just so quick, like you don't even recognize it because you're just so used to responding in a vicious way, right?
Yeah.
That like you actually have to catch yourself on that too, and like it's hard apologizing sometimes, especially when you're like, dude, I really don't think I'm wrong or that, because like look what your action did. You're making me react, and now you're reacting to my reaction. But for my ego and pride, I just try to put that shit aside lately and just try to be the best version of me as I can. Like I don't need to upset you any more than I already have. Like,
Yeah. I'm going to challenge you on the try word, right? Do.
so that's perfect, because after this I want to make a post about like Thoughtful Thursday.
Yeah.
And say on this Thoughtful Thursday, let's make yesterday our last Wishful Wednesday.
Yeah.
And moving forward, it's going to be Why Not Wednesday. Haven't worked on yourself? Why not? Haven't started your business? Why not? And start working backwards with the first why, and then the next why, and get to the root of the problem until you're doing what you're wanting to. So
Yep.
there is no more try. There is only do, Yoda.
Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. There is no try at the end of the day, because try comes with failure, right? Try is with the intention or the expectation that you're going to fail in some way. And failure is good. I absolutely believe in failure, because the only way you succeed in life is if you fail. Yet you're setting yourself up for failure and quitting by saying try.
I agree with that. I'm probably trying to like soften the disappointment I'm going to have in myself when I fail at trying, right? But you only fail if you don't get back up and do better next time.
Absolutely.
So that's another thing. Like, yeah, I'm not afraid to fail, but I don't like to fail. So in a roundabout way, I am afraid to fail, right? But I am learning, especially with this podcast, right? Like I think about like, oh shoot, I don't want to make the wrong next move. So I stay stagnant. So I am failing because I'm not progressing. And even if I progress in the wrong direction, it's a learning curve, and I just got to change and go back, right? Like when I changed the name of the podcast, bro, we lost a couple hundred followers at least.
Okay.
If not more. And it felt like we were just losing people every day. And then the past week, we gained like 200 in a week, or a little over a week. I mean, it has to do with some effort that I did, but it's just a pivot. You know, you lose some, so you feel like you're losing traction, but then you spring back forward, you know?
Yeah. Well, is it fair to say that we all go through chapters in life?
100%.
And so, that was a chapter, and not everybody is going to stick around for every single chapter in your life. New ones are going to come through, new relationships are going to show up, and as long as you're moving more towards your vision and your goals, I think at the end of the day you're winning. I want to go back to the whole failure piece. I think there's opportunity in failure. I think the value in failure is the opportunity that you see from the failure that you experienced, and learn from it and get better.
I think failure, if you use it right, is where your knowledge comes from.
Yep. I mean, that's how you get knowledge, right? Experiential knowledge.
Right. It's going to teach you what to do or not do again.
Yep.
And then the thing is, but a lot of times we like to stay in that cycle of insanity. So when we fail, we go to start something new, but get right back into the same cycle, the same routine, the same type of relationship. And so we end up failing again, and then we're like questioning our self-worth or whatever it may be. But it's because we're not changing what we've done. We're staying in the same routine. Like if you don't like where you are, you can't continue to wake up doing what you did yesterday, or you're still going to be there today.
Yep. Yeah, that was exactly me. Is like I recognized after my separation, like how many patterns were not serving me well in life, and where I needed to make a change. And so, once you start disrupting those patterns, then you create new ones in your life that are better,
right?
More positive habits.
And it's absolutely going to be hard, but it's hard living in the pattern you're living in right now. So you get to choose your heart. Do you want to live in the same insanity?
Hell yeah.
Or do you want to work on making a better life for you? And yeah, it's going to be harder potentially in a different way, but in the long run, it's going to be beneficial for you because you're at least learning and how you want to be or not be moving forward.
Yeah, life is fucking hard. Rather either way you look at it, right? Failure, like you can choose to just sit on your couch all day and not get the things that you want in life, and that's hard because then you have the effects of that. Or you can choose to, take control of your life, and that's hard as shit too.
Yeah.
Because you're doing things that you haven't done before in the past, and like they always say, success is simple, not easy. Like to be successful, to make money, to do the things that you want to do, it is simple, right? It is choosing what to do. Yet we make so much of a big thing out of it because of all these I can'ts in our brain.
Yeah, and it's new, so it doesn't come natural. So yeah, absolutely. So I asked you about in your childhood if you felt like you had abandonment issues from your dad because he was always working. Because my therapist told me that I have daddy issues, right? That I have abandonment issues from my dad, but I viewed it that like he's just working. Like he's working to provide for the family. He's a police officer. He's always picking up extra shifts and working hard for us. I've never felt like I was abandoned, and so it just makes me like question and like wonder. So I was trying to compare stories a little bit.
Yeah, something that helped me with that, and I never chalked it up to abandonment issues for me, and I completely appreciate where you're coming from. Something that helped me ultimately forgive my dad was keeping in mind that he did the best he could with the resources he was given.
Do you think it was easier to forgive your dad once you became a dad? Or did you do this work before? Were you able to forgive him before you had your child?
No, I didn't forgive him before I had my child. I was still mad at him. Deep down, he would still do the dumb shit. He was still an alcoholic all the way up until a year before he ended up passing away from cancer. And so at that moment, I wanted to make sure that everything was left on the table. Like there was nothing left. What do you say? Nothing left on the table. I wanted to get out. I needed to forgive him. I needed to let him know exactly how I perceived him showing up in my childhood and just voice that, because if I didn't get a chance to do that, then I don't know where I would be today.
Right. Yeah. I lost my train of thought. It happens a lot.
Yeah.
So we'll just roll with it.
Uh-huh.
But you forgave your dad. So, was it easier? Do you feel like having a child helped you come to terms with forgiving him?
I think it helped me put it into perspective. So it probably did make it easier.
Yeah.
Yeah, because then I understand, like, I recognize where I fall short as a parent and where I succeed as a parent. And so I can take that and look at my childhood growing up too. And again, like, we're doing the best we can with the resources that we're given in that current moment, and we always get a choice.
It's so crazy sometimes to think like, oh damn, they didn't know any better.
Yeah.
Or you don't know any better, or people don't know any better. Because growing up, I put too much authority into my parents, I want to say, in a sense where or all parents actually, I felt like once you were a parent, you had kids and you had your own house, you had life figured out. Like, you felt comfortable, you were safe, like all that shit.
It's that easy, right?
Right, like the title mom and dad is like who you are. You're a mom, you're a dad. You have the right answers. You have this, you have that. Bro, I'm a parent now. Still question if I'm doing the right thing, because it is wild.
Dude, it's a boat, man. My son just turned 9 years old, and I was talking to his mom. Yeah, I was talking to his mom, and I was like, dude, like, we have such a great kid. Like, we have raised him. Like, we each recognize where we may have not shown up as our best selves in his younger childhood, and he's going to have his own shit to deal with one day. All kids have their own shit to deal with, regardless of how amazing of a parent that you are. But, like, we have an amazing child, and we're super proud of him. And, he's empathetic, and he cares, and that's how I know, like, little pieces like that where I know I'm doing a really great job. It shows up later as they get a little older.
That's awesome. Congratulations.
Yeah.
How is it co-parenting?
It's great when you have a good relationship. I'll say that. I know there's so many people out there, and I've met so many people who have just a terrible relationship with their ex because of so much animosity and so much anger and resentment towards each other. And there's always usually one person in the separation who wants to get back at the other one for what they did to them in ending the relationship. And for us, it was amicable. We both recognized that we were unhappy and we need to make a change. And for the sake of him growing up and having a healthy relationship with us and a healthy relationship as an adult, we were better off not together and finding our own happiness in ourselves and then with other people too.
So when you split, you guys were amicable and like good co-parents already. It wasn't a work in obviously it's a work in progress.
It's work in
right?
progress. Yeah. Like it all comes down to communication, I think, at the end of the day. And I'm super grateful for who she is. We are still really amazing friends, and we talk nearly every single day. How can we support Grayson best? Talking about what he experienced at school. Like she just shared a moment with me where she said he came to her and asked about a kid in his school he doesn't want to play with, and how he should communicate with that kid, and say like, hey, like I don't appreciate the way that you treat me. And so it's I don't know where I was going with that, but it all comes down to communication. And for me and her, like communicating that fact back together, like it reminds us of the wins that we have. And she has, she told me very early on, she's like, I don't want to be that parent separation where we do everything separate. Because for Grayson, it's really important that he sees that we are friends and that we are amicable and that we can work together and we can have these shared experiences, because that's what he's gonna remember at in life. Not because, man, there's gonna be so many kids out there who just have shit relationships in their life because they see how dad treated mom after the separation and during together, and just vice versa. So it's just I couldn't be more grateful, and people tell me all the time, like, you're very lucky for what you have. And I'm like, I think luck is also created by opportunity, like choice and willingness.
And awareness too, because you got to be aware of your actions and the reactions that come from them, right?
Yep.
But when you're hurt and the pain, it blinds that sometimes, and people aren't able to see past it. They're only able to see their own pain and suffering and cause other people, like hurt people, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And it perpetuates nonstop until someone's able to forgive and allow themselves to move on.
So you said communication is key. Right?
Yeah.
But you also got to remember that is 100% true. And I was just telling somebody before the show today about it, that like they need to communicate better.
Yeah.
But the thing with communication is you can't communicate the way you know how to, because that's what's got you into this predicament or situation you're in now. So you need to change up your communication, right? Like you need to listen to what they're saying, whether you want to hear it or not.
Yeah.
But you need to respond in the way that they want you to. Like for me, for example, I always want to solve the problem. Like
you're a fixer.
I'm a fixer for sure. My wife tells me something, and I want to tell her a reason to like dull the hurt.
Yeah.
Or make her feel what I want her to feel, like in a good way, right?
Yeah.
But I was failing her because I wasn't I was listening to respond in the way I wanted to respond to her, not listening to respond in the way she needed.
Yeah.
So once we're working on that, it's a work in progress. It's probably going to be a continuous work in progress because we're always evolving.
Yeah.
But once I started to listen to her and hear her stories and just listen and respond in the way that she wanted to, in a sense, we started to talk more, and we became more open and started talking more. So like your son, Grayson, yeah. Like I'm sure he gets to see you and mom having open discussions and talking about feelings and emotions, or how this happened or what that felt, right? So he's reciprocating what he's watching and learning from you, what he's absorbing as a little sponge.
Yeah, 100%. And, I think there's some times where he doesn't like that because he knows that we communicate really well. And so when he tries to get away with stuff at my house, I'll be like, is that what happens over at Mom and Austin's? And he's like, sometimes. And so I'll communicate with her and be like, is this what's showing up at your house? And sometimes he's like, because, kids will be kids. Kids will be kids. So naturally they're going to see what they can get away with. And
right. And they're always going to push the limit.
Yeah. And so he does a good job of pushing the limit. But I really loved what you shared about how to communicate with your wife, because hold on one second. Please forgive me. I'm getting blown up.
Your favorite realtor is busy. He might have to make a business call.
No.
We only want 3% as a donation.
Everybody. Let's go. No, we don't price fix here, okay? Commissions are always negotiable. So when you shared about your wife and how you communicate, I recognize and I take responsibility for the fact that our relationship likely failed because of lack of communication from me. And again, it was the communication that she wanted to hear from me. And so something I learned after we separated was just to ask my person and ask, is like, do you just need to vent right now, or would you like advice? How can I best support you in this situation? Because sometimes they just want to fucking vent. They just want to like get it off their chest and be like, I just want you to be on my side. She never felt like I was on her side because I always plays devil's advocate.
Yeah. And always trying to show like the different perspective. Like, I'm not justifying it, but this is potentially how they feel or why they think that way. But yeah, sometimes she just wants you to say, yeah, fuck that bitch, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Oh,
like, fucking hate her too, you know?
Fucking Karen, man. I can't believe she did that.
Yeah, you know, they just want your support. They just want to know that you got their back. And I think us as men, like, we want the same exact thing.
We do, actually. But I recognize, like, when in doubt, ask it out. Like you said, like, sometimes, like, you have to ask, like, what do you want from me right now? You want me to fix it? Do you want me to just listen? Mm-hmm. Do you want me to support you? Because sometimes I don't know, and a lot of times I get it wrong. I assume she wants this, but she wants something else. And then, like, I can either give her what I want to give her, or I can see what she needs and meet in the middle and have a better conversation and have more conversations, right? Because for a while, I feel like it was bar top talk, right? Like, you in passings, you talk, you say little things. Like, you try, when you do try to have a conversation, a little kid runs up and interferes, and just outsiding factors, right? But it was because we didn't know how to communicate with each other. And we're still learning. We're always going to be learning.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah. But and it's that,
you got to take it day by day.
That kind of communication, just the surface level, bar stool talk, it's not fulfilling. You know, it doesn't bring anybody happiness.
Right. And you said something earlier as well. Oh, you talked about your wins with your kid. Yeah. And I think that's very huge and very beneficial. And I like that you said that, because you focus on your wins. Like, yeah, there's negatives that are going to be around. They're always going to be there, but let's focus on the wins. Like, because I could tell you 100 things I did right, and I could tell you one thing I did wrong, and I'm still feeling like I did more wrong than I did right.
Sure.
Right? So bring light to what you want to focus on. And for you brought light to the positives.
Yeah. You know, again, like, I'm constantly reminded. I look at him and I look at other kids too, and I hate to compare, right? It's never fun. Yet at the same time, I can look at my child and be like, damn, I did good, right? We're doing a good job here. We're definitely doing good.
Yeah. Yeah, bro, you can compare your kids all day. But I feel like I'm very biased towards my kids, but my kids are pretty fucking awesome, bro.
Yeah, okay. And we got to believe that as parents, right? Because the moment that we hold resentment for who they are or how they show up or whatever that is, we can never have a really great relationship with them, which is something that I recognize is my child's different. You know, he's got high-functioning autism. You know, you wouldn't necessarily recognize it, yet at the same time, it does show up, and there were challenges. And once we found that out, I almost felt helpless as a parent because I didn't necessarily know how to show up for him. It took a different level of patience that I needed to create within myself so that I could show up and support him in the way that he needs to. And so he is different from kids, right? You know, I look at the regular everyday go-lucky kid growing up. He was different in the best way that I recognize now. And at the same time, like, I admit, like, as something I learned this last week, like, I had a little resentment towards it because I was like, why can't my child be the other way? And then once I started to recognize all the gifts and the fucking amazing human that he is, and I knew this in the past, it's just like, I don't know why I held on to it, is that he is an amazing kid. And I am very grateful for him and who he is and what he's brought into my life. And, like, he is unique. And I think that is extreme, like, something that we should look for is people who are unique are special in their own way. Because if you have this kid who's the same kid, you know, through and through life, a sheep, as we essentially call them, whatever it is, I don't want my kid to be just the same as everybody else. I want him to be special and unique and, like, grow to give his own gift to the world.
Absolutely. What would you give your advice to yourself when you first found out your child was autistic or going to be autistic that you know now to make the transition and being a better parent, or just showing up for yourself differently?
That's a great question. More grace, probably. Like, more acceptance and more grace. Like, not feeling like a victim, I think that would be it, right? Taking responsibility for it. Because for a little while, I felt like a victim.
Okay.
Yeah, like I felt like a victim of like just like why, like almost like why me kind of thing, and it's fucked up to say. But I would say take responsibility, because once you take responsibility, you can accept what is, and you can start making decisions based on what is. And I think I pushed back for a little while, and it was absolutely a learning curve, right? Because it took me a long time to, again, have that patience and speak to him in a way that he needs to be spoken to, and hold that space for him when he's in, I would say, trigger episodes. So, yeah, responsibility.
What has made it easier understanding on how to react besides trial and error? But have you read books? Have you done your research on autism or anything like that?
Yeah, we brought him to therapy because we needed support on that, and I think we brought him not knowing at the time that he was autistic, and then learning that news, and our therapist was like, she's like, yeah, he's definitely, on the spectrum, and just based on his fears and how he shows up when he's scared, the way that he communicates, his certain gifts. And what was the question again?
I don't know, but you made me think of another one. And
What makes it easier?
oh,
Yeah.
did you do research? You
Oh,
said you did
research.
therapy.
Yeah, we went to therapy. That made it so much easier, because she could be there to support him. We could be there to support together. So me and Mom both went to therapy together with him in the same room. We were separated at this time.
That was my question.
Yeah, we were separated at this time. And so, again, super grateful for the relationship we have, is where, we got to experience all of that, and she got to share, and it was like a family therapy session, because
Okay.
she'd be like, hey, what are you guys doing at home? What is working? Here's how you should show up. So there was that. I also had my own personal coach on the side, who super empathetic. She's an NLP coach, neuro-linguistics programming. And so I would share my experiences and my journey with her, and she would share with me about my beingness. Who am I being, so that way I can show up best for him.
What were some of the signs that you look back now and can say, like, okay, yeah, I understand that he's autistic?
Yeah, when he would get scared, he would run away in a store. Like he would, when he didn't get what he wanted, or like he would be upset, he would run away. Like, and that is a number one trigger for kids who are autistic, is like they'll run away and they'll hide, and they don't want to be seen. So that he would do that in stores. He has food aversions. So food, we brought him to food therapy for a while, which pluses and minuses to it. For him specifically, that created a rift in our relationship, and so we vaccinated that. What else? Loves video games, loves puzzles. So he's very focused on that. He would also go into these episodes where he felt like he wasn't worthy, like he felt like we didn't love him, and he would just yell and just completely deny everything that we would say, and be like, no, we do love you, like all these things. And so he would just continue to be like, no, you hate me, all these things. And we never wanted him to grow up and have these feelings like he's not worth it, or that he's less than. And I think that was where we got really concerned. We're like, we don't, we would hate for something bad to happen to him, or for him to make a decision based on the thoughts that he's projecting. And our therapist said, just don't pay attention to those thoughts. Like, don't give them any power. Just let that episode go through. And let it run its course. And just because it'll eventually stop, and it has stopped. He hasn't had any of those thoughts for a very long time, and I think this is just because he's growing up and he's learning who he is and what he's capable of and what he can say.
Okay. So when he was having those fits and saying that you don't love me, you were just there for him, but you weren't like responding to it verbally, like saying, we do love you. Or is...
Yeah. So she said exactly that. She's like, just let it be, right? And give him his space. I think that was something that really worked for him. Was we established a safe zone for him, which is his bedroom. And so when he's in a state like that, to allow him to go into his bedroom and cool down. And so he'd say, hey, I recognize that you're having some high emotions right now, some big emotions. Come out when you want to, come out when you're feeling better, or just, when this has gone down so we can talk.
And how has this affected you mentally overall?
Definitely stronger. Yeah, stronger person. I would say I show up with stronger trust with him. I've created that motherly, nurturing, nectary energy that I would say most men don't necessarily have. Because as a single parent, it's now my job to show up with both of those energies, the masculine and the feminine. And knowing that I can now do that has made me feel like I can handle and take care of any sort of challenge that he may be going through or episode. So it's been really eye-opening and really cool. Like, I believe I can do it, and I have more confidence in who I am as a parent.
What did it take for you to get to that level? Because at first, I'm sure it was detrimental a little bit.
Openness, acceptance, and vulnerability.
How did you do those?
I took trainings. So, like, I did deep work on myself. What is it with inside of me that is causing me to show up in this way? Because I said earlier, my shadow figure in my life is my dad. And so I always told myself I didn't want to be like him. Well, lo and behold, I recognized that as I was getting older, I was turning out to be exactly like him. And so I strongly believe that we get two lives in our lifetime, right? The one that you're given and the one that you choose. So I chose to take some action and show up in a different way for Grayson that my dad didn't necessarily show up for me. So.
Okay. And what are his gifts?
So good at puzzles, dude. He's so empathetic. Like, he watched Clifford the movie and he cried when Clifford was being taken away, and like things make him sad. Like, he has emotions and he feels. And I know he's a kid, right? So kids all have emotions, yet he loves really hard, and I would say deeply. That's really amazing. Like, he can solve a puzzle really fast, and he can also pick up any sort of game that he wants really fast. He does have some speech challenges at times. Like, he just stutters, very minor, yet it takes a moment for him because his brain goes faster than his mouth does. So, but he's extremely intelligent. He's really great at math. He is really artistic. Like, he's super creative with that too. So That's been really cool.
What are your favorite hobbies?
I really enjoy working out. Like, that is a big part of my life, because if my body's not right, then my mind's not right. So I do that. I go hiking because I like to get out in nature too. I feel like when you're connected to the source, which is, Mother Nature and the earth, then I am just in a more grounded state. Snowboarding is important to me too. I haven't gone as much very often in this last year. And anything that is related to water. Like, I just love water. It's my happy place, is being near water, which is weird why I moved to Arizona,
I was thinking that.
Yeah, it's weird why I moved to Arizona
beach,
for that.
But...
Yeah, absolutely.
So you were close to the water in Minnesota?
Yeah, Minnesota, we had 10,000 lakes out there. It's pretty great.
Oh, yeah, eh?
It was pretty nice.
Okay.
So we lived right next to a pond, and that was always fun to go to. And we go down to the creek down there and build forts in the woods, and then just mess around in the water too. So yeah, it's part of my childhood, 100%. What else do I like to do for fun? Go bike riding, anything that involves like physical activity. I love pottery too.
Really?
Yeah, that's something that's really soothing for my soul. I did a lot in high school, and I actually went to a few pottery classes in the last year. That was so good. Yeah, it's just like you get down there in the wheel, it's you and the clay, and you're touching the earth, and you're just like, oh, it's happiness.
And you're forgetting about everything that's in your mind except for what's present and in front of you.
Yeah,
Sounds very therapeutic.
It is very therapeutic. And I always, that's one of my goals one day, is to get a pottery wheel in my backyard, and then, whatever else I need to just throw pottery whenever I want to.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So I initially meant to ask, like, what are your and your son's favorite hobbies?
Oh, sure. What are your favorite hobbies to do together? Play video games.
Okay.
Yeah, I like to play with this big old ball in the backyard too. He really loves doing that. He likes jumping on the trampoline, but I have a bad back, so I don't do that as much anymore. Golfing.
Okay.
Yeah, we go golfing together.
That's exciting. You got excited about that?
Yeah, because I love golfing, and so I love to share that with him, and he gets really excited about golfing. It is expensive, though, at the same time, so we don't go as often as I would like to.
Okay. That's got to be a fun experience. I can't wait till the kids grow up a little bit more and want to start doing things like that.
Yeah.
What is something about autism that you want more people to be aware of?
You can't change them. You can't change them into the people that you want them to be. They are going to be their exact own person, and the sooner that you accept that, the sooner that you can come to peace with it and appreciate and hone in on the gifts that they have.
Okay. And how should somebody treat somebody with autism? Like, if somebody comes up to your son, do you want him to treat him special, or just like he's another little boy?
You would never recognize it, though. Like, if you walked
Okay.
up to him, you would never recognize that he has autism. It's strictly in the certain behaviors that he does and his little tendencies throughout time, like throughout the day.
Okay.
But like, you wouldn't walk up to him and be like, oh, this kid's, on the spectrum. He's completely capable, and he's completely just a fun, happy-go-lucky kid. It's just when emotions, like higher emotions, come into play, then we as parents start to recognize it.
Okay. So let's go back a little bit more then.
Mm-hmm.
What happened in high school? What was your high school years like?
High school years were good. I had a core group of friends. That's when I think I started to smoke weed and I started to rebel. I want to preface this by saying I don't smoke weed anymore and I don't do any sort of things like that because I recognize it's just not good for me and my beingness who I want to be. Yet at that age, I did it all the time. My buddies would go out, we'd ride around our car because in Chaska, Minnesota, there wasn't much you can do. There were farms and that's it. So we would go out and smoke weed and play video games after soccer practice, before soccer practice. So, like, that was, I hate to say that was all my childhood, but, like, that's what we did. We'd go over to my buddy's house and we'd hang out, get stoned, watch some movies, made some really great memories, and we played games. Yeah. I don't know. I wasn't the most popular kid in high school. I had a lot of friends. I got along with a lot of people, and I think that's a gift that I have in life is that I just get along with a lot of people. I'm a very personable type personality. And I don't look at people or judge people for who they are. There's more of a story there. So I always got along with a lot of people. Wasn't part of the popular group. Wasn't part of this other group. I guess I was part of the stoner group, but not like the degenerates one that you would imagine.
The athletic ones.
Yeah, the athletic ones who just, I feel like I could have been a really amazing soccer player if I just chose to focus in on that a whole bunch. Yeah, everything happens for a reason.
Right. After high school, did you know what you wanted to do after senior year?
I battled on that a little bit. I was not one of those kids who went and applied at a bunch of different colleges. I really didn't know entirely what I wanted to do. So I was looking at the Art Institute of Minneapolis, whatever it is, and I told my mom, I was like, I want to be a graphic designer. And I think it's because my sister was in the creative world. Like she was really creative and she could do artistic stuff. And I looked at it, you get those screensavers on your phone that are like super cool. And I started to download those and I want to make all that stuff. And when we went there and went through like the interview process, they were like, oh, we also have a kitchen. And so we walked up there and, I looked at it and, we went on our tour. And I was in the car riding home with my mom, and my mom was like, Ryan, I didn't see your face light up the whole entire tour as much as it did when you saw the kitchen. Because me and my mom would always cook when we were growing up, which is really fun. Like, we would make cookies, meatloaf, all the Minnesota things, hot dish, so, like, it was something that I had a passion for. And I still do have a passion. So I went to culinary school. I went to Le Cordon Bleu after high school. So I did about a year of Le Cordon Bleu.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. And I moved out to Arizona after that.
What led you to moving to Arizona?
Yeah, so I worked at this restaurant, the Herb Box in Minnesota. So they actually have a few in Arizona, which is why I'm here now. So I worked at Lifetime Fitness, and they had the Herb Box in there. When I was finishing my schooling, I had to find they called it an externship. So find a restaurant or find a place to start working at. So I looked at the Herb Box, and I saw that they had some restaurants down here in Arizona. It wasn't my first choice, I initially looked at Disney cruises, what can I do there? I looked at other sorts of things, like what's going to be a fun experience. And I ended up deciding on Arizona and only anticipated being here for 3 to 6 months. And life showed up. Life showed up.
By meeting the mother of your child?
No. I think I continued to move up in the companies that I was working at. So the Yerba Box, I continued to move up. I was doing well. I was progressing. And I had a chef at that restaurant. He was from Minnesota too. And he was like, Ryan, if you're going to move back to Minnesota, you better do it in the first 2 years you're here. Otherwise, you're here for good. And I'm like, nah, man, not me. Not me. I'll be gone. And I stayed. Absolutely. I had some girlfriends here and there, but I just continued to move up in the company. And my parents really loved that they had somewhere they could visit that was warm. And so they'd visit. Yeah, they'd see it and they'd really appreciate that. So it was really cool.
What made you transition out of being a chef to realty?
My family. When it boils down to it, my family. I wanted to be there. I wanted to be present. I wanted to make money, and I actually wanted to make money, right? Being a chef wasn't very lucrative at all, and I couldn't go and experience what I wanted to in life, or be in control of my schedule, like know what I wanted to do. And so I never got to put my son to sleep. And that was a big conversation that me and his mom had, was she's like, I'm always putting him to sleep and I'm always reading him books. And I'm like, I recognize that I'm missing out on all of that. And I didn't want that anymore. So I had a couple-year plan, like a 2-year plan prior to me exiting the restaurant industry. And I was like, I'm just going to look at real estate, because my buddy was telling me about podcasts and sharing about it. And so I did my research prior to. I saved my money. And I made that transition full time. Just left the restaurant industry and then right into real estate.
What was that journey like?
Dude, it was tough, man. It was scary, right? Because I'm leaving something where I know everything all about it. Well, I know as much as I knew at the time all about. And then I went into a career that was essentially sales. Yet I knew I wanted to do something that I was going to create a positive impact in someone's life, which is like my mission in life, is how can I create a positive impact in someone else's life? And I can make a meal for somebody and create a positive, experience for them for an evening. Or I can help somebody with one of the largest home purchases of their life and create a more long-lasting and memorable experience, because they're never going to forget that. Positive or negative, right? I haven't had too many negative experiences with it. But positive has been really, really cool. But I walked into it with, there's no failure here. Like my only option is to succeed, because my family depends on it. I had a big why. A, I wanted to buy a house. B, I really wanted to make sure that my family was taken care of completely, and so I would work really hard. But again, still showing up exactly as I did with my dad, because I would be out there and I'd be working and I'd be grinding. I was there. Like I still got to, do my son's important events and put him to sleep and, be home for that. Yeah, I don't think I worked any less.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Would you do it again? Would you transition into?
Hell yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah, 12 times out of 10. Yeah. It's been the greatest change in my life, because I genuinely don't believe that I would be the person I am today if I did not make the transition into real estate. I wouldn't be sitting here with you today if I didn't make the transition into real estate, because I met you in my first year of real estate.
Okay.
Yeah, like Kevin introduced us within that first year. Yeah. I would not be here today if this wasn't for that.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
What's the first step into becoming a realtor?
Plan for it. Yeah. Plan for it. Have money saved up, because, I would say have 3 months of expenses saved up. That's what I had. So I knew that was my time frame to start making some sales. In my first couple months, I made a couple sales. Do the research on it. Understand what your ideal, understand the income that you want to make, and either get on a team right away or just work your ass off and enlist support in your life. Ask for support, and how do I do this, and how do I do this? What is needed, so that way you can be successful.
So where are you at now? Do you have your own company? Do you work for a company?
Yeah, I am co-team leader of our team Move Forward AZ at Keller Williams Arizona Realty. Okay. So that was a journey in and of itself because I was part of a team for a while. And again, I wanted to lean more into my purpose of helping people achieve their greater purpose in life and helping make a positive impact. And so I'm like, I'm going to create my own team. And so me and my business partner at the time, we were like, let's just create a team together. So we do that. We have about 5 agents on our team right now. We have an admin, we have a virtual assistant, and it's incredible. Like it's so much fun. And it's also created a different level of responsibility and professionalism within myself that I really had to bring out in order to be successful, because it's not just me that's depending on it and my family, it is others and their families too.
Right. So what would you say some of your unhealthy coping mechanisms are?
Man, in the past I used to do Adderall all the time.
Okay.
Yeah, and that was a bit of a downfall when it comes to my relationship that I had with Grayson's mom. Was I just like, it helped me work like a dog, like I felt like I knew everything. B, it masked a lot of emotions and hid a lot of emotions and buried them deep down, and I started second guessing things and questioning, what is the right choice, and emotionally unattached. And that was a terror. Like that, what I did to my body was terrible. Like everything was all out of balance because I'm not somebody who needs it.
Okay.
And I don't know if anybody really, I don't know. That's not for me to say. But like, I did it because I felt like it made me made me better at what I did.
Yeah, it's a hell of a drug.
It is, yeah. Well, the amphetamines, right? So that was a big one. I did during my relationship. I did smoke weed. I smoked weed on and off throughout my life, and so I would smoke weed and again further disconnect from my ex at the time, and just wasn't completely there. Like I had found ways to escape and hide away from my emotions.
Right. So what did you replace it with? What are some of your healthy coping mechanisms now?
Just being there, like being present, like being with somebody. I would say working out. I always worked out, but like I would lean more heavily into working out. Man.
What helps you be present on those days that you don't want to be?
Just reminders, and I'm always still working on this, right? I'm no perfect human being.
Right.
Yeah.
Nobody is.
I'm still working on this. Just reminders of who I choose to become helps me be present. Because my son, like I look at him and what he's doing and just like hanging out, and I'm like, I want to be part of that. I want to create memories with him. So that's the reminder. And then just, I've done a lot of work on myself when it comes to how I show up in life. And so it's that discipline of every single day. Like how can I be present throughout the day? Like what am I being right now, or what's popping up in my mind that, might be in resistance, and so working through those as they come up instead of just pushing them down deep.
Dude, as I'm sitting here talking and listening to you, you made me realize so I struggle with putting my phone down sometimes, or I struggle with same. I just like to watch my kids play and like walk or do whatever they're doing, because like I like to watch. I'm an observer, mm-hmm. right? And as you were talking, like that came to me, and I was like, but he's right. Ryan's right. I need to be active, get down there, get in the memories with them instead of just having memories of them. And I was like, why is that? And I think, as of right now, thinking out loud, is that, that's how my dad was, right? My dad likes to watch. Don't get me wrong, my dad's hands-on, especially when it's like building or doing something,
yeah,
right?
Yeah.
But for the day-to-day, he just likes to watch and observe. And that's just a trait that I've had passed down. Mm-hmm. And I don't think it's necessarily a bad thing, but I think for me, the better option is to get involved.
Yeah, just being there, right? Even if it's them watching a cartoon or watching something, like me just being there. And what's crazy is, like, I would always get this like spine tingling, like uncomfortability when my son would cuddle up next to me, because he'd touch me like so like gently and lightly that would almost send shivers up my spine. Yet my girlfriend can touch me, on my arm lightly, and it doesn't necessarily do the same thing. And so I was like, where the fuck does that come from? Like, what is that? And then I literally just found this out like a week ago. It came to awareness was my dad never did that with me. And so for me, it was weird that my son would do it with me. And it was almost like, I would almost be like, all right, well, I'm going to move away. And so there'd be times where I'd like to cuddle with him and, be really, really close. But it's crazy what our experiences as a kid can create in our life.
That is crazy. I like that recognition that you just brought from that statement. Like, oh, it made me want to move. Why is that? Well, my dad didn't do that, or I didn't have that as a child. There's such that it just goes back that everything is from our childhood. Like the way we act, the way we are, it's all due to our childhood.
Yep, evidence that we have in the past. Unconscious or conscious, super conscious, whatever it is.
Can we talk about this trip that you just went on? Can you explain the whole program to us? Because I feel like it's something very beneficial.
Yeah, it's big. So it's called PSI Seminars. And so it's really how you show up in the world. And some people, honestly, I'll say it out there right now. Some people look online and be like, oh, it's a cult. It's not a cult. Once you actually experience it, it's not a cult. What did she say?
I don't know. I think she was talking to her.
Oh, okay. It's just a place where you get to experience how you show up in the world. It's very strong exercises, and I can't, share all that they are because
it's a cult.
No, because I would want people to experience it themselves. Like, I don't want them to walk into it with the expectation of knowing what it's going to be about. But I will say that it's probably been one of the best things that's ever happened in my life is going through these experiences and being closer in the relationships that I want in my life. So the first one's 3 days, and you go, and the first day is all setting it up, creating awareness around your life. Second day is you do exercises with your group people that you have. There's 8 people in a group. People go to self-help seminars all the time, and they just hear a speaker talk the whole time. But this is actually experiential, and you get to sit down and put these things into practice. And the last day is just a lot of love and a lot of happiness and a lot of connection. And so this 7 days thing that I went on was really strongly about who we're being in life, right? The first one's about creating awareness. The second one is about who we're being in life and at a deep level, because we talk about doing things all the time, but who are we being inside? Who do we believe ourselves to be as well? What can I share about it? You go to this ranch. So I went to this ranch in New Mexico for 7 days. It was completely off grid. So we didn't have any access to internet, cell phone, whatever it was, because they want you to be immersed in the experience. And, you'd sit and you do seminars, and you'd go out and you'd do physical activities on, all built around trust and openness and vulnerability, and just, leaning into your emotions. And then there's a lot of activities when it comes to teamwork and seeing how well you trust others. How well do you trust yourself, and how well do you trust others? And you get a real clear picture and a real big, whatever about, do I trust that person sitting across from me? Do I trust my partner to have my back and take care of me? How do I allow myself to be loved? How do I do I even allow myself to be loved? Do I love myself? All these things are built around activities. And one, I will say, because it's out there, one activity is you get to go at the top of this pole. It's 40 feet in the sky. Okay. You're climbing this thing. You're harnessed up, right? But you're climbing this pole, and it is like a telephone pole. And then you get to the very top, and you got this disc on the top, and it shakes, and then the idea is there's nothing else holding on to you. They give you enough slack to where you yourself are capable of standing on top of this disc that shakes and spins at the very top. And honestly, it's probably about this. It's smaller than the size of a basketball. And you stand on top of this disc, and you jump from this and grab a trapeze thing, whatever it is. And it's just, there are so many people where it's such a big thing. And that is the trust within yourself, that is trusting others to make sure that when you fall, people have you. They are going to catch you as you come down. So.
Dude, that sounds amazing. I'm sure you got a lot from it.
Dude, it was so good. I consider it one of the best weeks of my life.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Wholeheartedly. It's not cheap. It's not cheap. I think it was $5,000. Yeah, at the same time, it was one of the best investments that I've ever made myself in my life. And that's where I see these things as they're investments in my life. Investments in the person that I choose to become.
That's an amazing way to look at it. And I'm sure it's helping you grow and excel in your life as well.
Hell yeah.
That's awesome. So Ryan, how can people find you?
You can find me on Instagram at myfaverealtor.com. That is MYFAVE, realtor, not realtor.com. MyFaveRealtor. Instagram or Facebook is Ryan J. Gamlin. I'm out there, so if you guys ever need help buying or selling, I'm your guy, right?
He's your guy.
I'm your guy.
All right, so I'm going to wrap this up. Is there any saved rounds, anything I missed that you would like to talk about?
That's it, man. This is great. I really appreciate the platform that you create for people to allow them to share their story and exactly their experiences, because I think that's exactly how we learn from each other, too.
Absolutely.
And I appreciate you sharing everything that you told me today, and I'm glad that we could do this.
Of course, it's my pleasure. I'm glad you're here, and thanks for sharing.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right. Hey.